from John Denaro today?
Yes, I did. I did. I'm not surprised. I think that basically I've come to the conclusion that everyone is going to be exposed and probably to some degree catch Omicron. And the only question is how bad it will be. And I think if you are boosted, you will be relatively okay. And if you're not boosted, less okay. And if you're not vaccinated at all, God knows.
Yeah. I mean, this is life right now.
But it seems like I've been looking at, it looks like the issue of being vaccinated doesn't play a role with the transmission. Omicron doesn't seem to be stopped by the vaccination, but it does seem to be diminished in the severity of the disease.
Yeah.
So, I think hospitalization rates are going to be more significant than the transmission rates. Miriam, what's your word?
My word is great.
Excellent. What? Sorry. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Did we interview all the candidates we were going to interview?
Yes, we interviewed. We had first rounds with everyone we were going to have a first round with. I don't know if we've done second rounds with absolutely everyone, but certainly with our top tier candidates.
Enough to make an offer?
Well, we can't make an offer yet until the board authorizes.
Right, but after Monday, perhaps.
Perhaps, yes. Perhaps. We shall see. You know how this works.
Yeah. Well, they seem to be amenable to moving quickly.
Well, that was a little bit of me.
Yeah, it was a lot you.
Yeah, well, it's always better to be at the front of the line.
Yeah.
Even if the cashier isn't ready, it's still better to be at the front of the line.
Yeah.
And I have to say, given that I don't even know what situation, I don't know if people are going to be able to invite people to the buildings come January.
Yeah, I don't know. Rafa's after school stuff all just went online again. He's very disappointed.
Yep, they all are.
Because, he was doing robotics and they're supposed to go, start building robots to compete in the spring. And
Yep.
you can't build robots, you can't meet to build the robots. You can't do robots virtually, so
No, you can't.
it's pretty bum. I'm hoping they can start up again at some point after January.
Go.
I have a note for you.
You have a note for me.
Read it. It's a different question.
My friend Duval.
Oh, you recognize the handwriting?
Oh, yeah.
All right then.
Yeah, he wants to get together. I love Duval, and if we weren't in the midst of Omicron, I would try to make time for him. Goes with the territory. You do take care even of that's like the large outside circle of it. I have a relation. He's been in the neighborhood longer than I have.
We have some resident Elijahs.
Yeah, that's right. But at this point,
Do you want me to do anything?
no, I don't want you to do a thing. Just say you gave me the note.
Will do.
And the rabbi said nice things and says he wished he could figure out, but we're in the midst of a pandemic.
Very accurate.
And you should feel no obligation to communicate. If he pops by, you can say, "Oh, Duval, the rabbi told me you're here for as long as he's around." But I don't need you to do anything other than to be nice. Try to be nice to him.
Well, I'm sure that'll be easy.
The easy people are easy. The test of ourselves is how we deal with somewhat more demanding people.
See if we get even a minion tonight.
I think we're going to have Minion because we've got a number of cottages to be said.
much as she was enjoying it.
As much as she was enjoying
Right,
the sugar
I got
cookie.
it. I understand the qualification.
But,
Hey, Michael.
she's lovely.
Hey,
Hello.
Steve. Yeah, we're gonna, David Dintz's mom just passed away, so he and Lisa will be here.
Is that the sad news notice I saw?
Yeah, if there's, the angel of death came every day this week.
Yeah, I sent him an email.
It's incredible. It's just been nonstop. And each unique, and each its own story, but it was just, sort of like, okay, time to leave. Diane, enough visitation.
Dying.
Oh, goodness. Oh, Lori. Ugh. I think Faith will be here tonight, so well, already happened. It'll all work out.
Ah, yeah, it's still chilly. It's up to 69.
Look, a few degrees chilly, in my estimation, a few degrees chilly is better than a few degrees schwitzy. As long as Miriam doesn't tell me that her fingers are cramping from the cold.
They are not.
Okay. That's the sign that it's too cold.
Where's the cake?
K something something 95 blah de blah. Like this does anything to keep my projectiles.
No.
Shalom.
Oh, yeah. I went to my sister's, but I don't have to teach I have to teach Monday and Tuesday. It's gonna be chaos. Yeah, from Wednesday to
Oh, yeah.
Monday.
Excellent.
Through the new year.
I'm doing the Friday night service at Peterson. And the Saturday morning Torah study with Nancy at the Red Hot.
It's not my fault. Whatever it is, it's not my fault. And if it is my fault, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I know, and besides, it's at 6:30. You're
No.
not doing anything.
Regular prayer books and visual Tafilah.
Right,
The
it's
usual,
not-
those are, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take those and put those away. Yeah, those
Totally disappearing this week.
are part of the
I'm like, I'll do this.
I would be jealous this week. You can feel free to text me pictures of the ocean.
I wouldn't do that to you, that's so mean.
No, it's not. I will live vicariously through you. I'm going away in February, not to Mexico, and it probably won't be as nice, but it will still be. I gotta finally I'm doing an in-school thing. It's gonna be vicious. It's gonna be 6 classes twice a week. In
No one's rushing you.
Testing. Testing. There we go. Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So we are gathered here still, live in the sanctuary of the Brooklyn Heights Synagogue, in the midst of a journey unexpected, in the midst of the pandemic. We never quite know what to expect from week to week. So at the beginning of the week, the custodial crew took down the enclosure surrounding the cantor's lectern at the recommendation of our physicians on the reopening task force, which deals with all matters COVID. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoyed the cantor having her magic toll booth, it's really nice to have perhaps a little bit less barrier. And at the same time, as Omicron has manifested itself, we've taken a half step back, and that means that Kiddush and Motzi are going to be reserved to the pulpit, to the bima. We're not going to gather in the reception room and share the wine and grape juice and challah just because of the virulence of the current variant. I'm sure there's a sermon in there someplace, but I'm not going to give that one tonight. So we are gathered. Welcoming Shabbat as we've turned the calendar and entered into our winter season. We are now, having tipped the scale, we will see that as you light candles for Friday night, for Shabbat, that moving forward, that candle lighting time is going to start to inch a little bit later. I know it's going to take a while. But nevertheless, a minute here and 2 minutes there, and we're going to start to get brighter, having hit the coldest, at least the darkest point in the season. So, as is our custom always on Shabbat, or just before Shabbat, we kindle light, the last creative activity of the work week, this definitional human activity of transforming the world around us. And if you're at home and you're also kindling lights, I invite you to join with us as the cantor now is going to offer the bracha in song.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We're going to turn to page 10 in the prayer book, or right up, actually before page 10. Why don't we take our reading on page, I think it's page 9.
Page 9. Mm-hmm.
And let's read responsibly. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. Together?
On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share.
And there are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. And now I will invite you to turn a page ahead in the prayer book, or just up on the screen, the wonderful words of Bialik Chachama Merosh.
Chachama Merosh Haylanot Nistalka Bo v'netze likrat Shabbat Hamalka Hinei yoredet Hakadosha Habarucha Ve'ima malachim Tzeva shalom u'menucha Boi hamalka Boi hakala Shalom aleichem aleichem shalom. The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come gather together, welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace also to you, angels of peace.
Kabbalat Shabbat, the welcoming of Shabbat, perhaps even better, the inviting of Shabbat, custom started by the mystics in northern Israel that envisioned Shabbat embodied. They went out into the hillside, recited psalms that replicated the days of creation, inviting Shabbat to join them. We're going to turn ahead to Psalm 29 and join in the singing of verse 11. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God grant strength to our people. May God bless our people with peace. Page 19.
Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo, Adonai yivarech et amo. Shalom, Adonai, oz le'amo yitein, Adonai, oz le'amo yitein, Adonai, oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo.
And indeed, we take this pause each week in the flow of the Psalms and envision Shabbat as bride and queen groom and king, beloved friend and lover, the one whose return we await each week. The words of Shlomo Halevi Al-Kabetz, who actually wrote out his name in the first letter of each stanza. If you look at it on pages 20 and 21, Shlomo Halevi, the words of Lecha Dodi. As always, our custom, we're going to sing stanzas 1, 2, 5, and then rise for the 9th and final stanza and invite Shabbat to enter.
Dodi elikat kala, panay Shabbat nekabela. Alecha Dodi elikat kala, panay Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'divorecha tishmi'anu el hamiyuchad Adon echad u'shemo echad l'Shem u'tiferet v'litchila alecha Dodi elikat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Alecha Dodi elikat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha ki hi mekor ha'beracha me'shvi kedem ne'esucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Alecha Dodi elikat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Alecha Dodi elikat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri ki ba'orech kumi uri shidaber kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Alecha Dodi elikat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Alecha Dodi elikat kala panei Shabbat nekabela.
We rise for the 9th, the final stanza at the bottom of page 21 and face the entry.
בואי בשלום, עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. alecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Alecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela.
So having welcomed Shabbat, I'm going to invite you to take a moment, wish Shabbat Shalom to those you've arrived with. Take a moment then. You don't have to do a full handshake. We don't know. You can do your elbow thing. But why don't you introduce yourself to the people in front of you, behind you, and make a new acquaintance?
Shabbat Shalom.
Spritz, 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 spritz. Anyone want to spritz, spritz, spritz? Don't say the rabbi didn't offer you an opportunity. There we go. So, for those who are joining us on the live stream, I'm going to invite those in the sanctuary. If you'd like to have a seat, please do. We are on page 22. I want to say that the next 2 weeks, we are going to be on Zoom exclusively. We have some construction, which has nothing to do with COVID. We have construction planned for the building over the winter break, so we will actually be physically out of the building next Friday, the 24th and the 31st. So we won't have, the building will be closed, but we will be worshiping on Zoom, which we know how to do. So that'll be for the next 2 weeks, and then we're back on and up in January, and it's our hope, well, certainly our plan, that we will be moving from the Boxcast live stream as our sole and primary sole way of joining Friday night services. We're going to switch over to Zoom. There'll still be a live stream from that Zoom, but you'll be able to interact with one another a little bit more in depth, courtesy of the Zoom. So that, hopefully, we're planning to switch over by that first, second Friday in January. For those who show up to the sanctuary, there's going to be a little audio-visual station with a tech managing all of that off to the side, which you won't see from the camera angles for all of those out there, but for those of us in the sanctuary, it's a little bit of a change. We're trying to facilitate, because we've heard from so many people how much preference there is for Zoom over the Boxcast live stream. So we're trying to be responsive to people. We're going to continue on in our service with the psalm that actually celebrates Shabbat, Psalm 92, page 22, or right up on the wall.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי יסוב עלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכנות. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
I invite those in the sanctuary and those watching on the live stream, as you are able, to rise in body and or spirit as we come to the Reader's Kaddish on page 26 or right up on the wall.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
ועלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם לעלמא ויתברך, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא וימרו.
Page
Amen.
28, the call to worship.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
If you'd like to have a seat at this time, I invite you to do so. We are at page 31, or right up on the wall together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim.
Amen.
Page 32, we join with the cantor in the singing of Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Israel, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta, Otanu limadta, Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachveinu uv'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'vahem negei yomam v'layla negei yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael.
Page 34.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. We join with the cantor in the chanting of Ve'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 39, we read together, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. The words of our people marching through the sea of despair to freedom on the other side, the words of Micha Mocha, page 40, or right up on the wall.
Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar ba'kodesh, norat ilot osef ele, norat ilot osef ele, malachutecha ra'u vanecha bokei hayom lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Adonai Yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai Yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai Yimloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי ודע אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
גאל ישראל.
Amen. Page 42, as nighttime settles in, as our day starts to conclude and sleep awaits us, as we seek the safety and comfort of our homes and closing our eyes, we also remember that nighttime was a time of fear and worry for our ancestors who knew what the next day would bring, who knew how safe one would be as they retired for the night. And so our prayers are offered up for our physical renewal, our physical safety, but also our spiritual renewal, our spiritual safety as we lie down with the hope of a rising tomorrow to a world just a little bit better, a little safer, and we pray a little healthier. The words of the Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'haviteinu shamreinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'haviteinu shamreinu lechayim. Ushma tzitenu uveinu lechayim v'shalom ve'ata ve'ad olam. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שמרנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שמרנו לחיים.
The Chatima at the bottom of the page or the screen.
ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכת שלום שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים ועל כל עמו ועל ירושלים שלום ועל ירושלים ועל כל עמו ועל ירושלים שלום ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכת שלום שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל.
Page 44 from the book of Exodus, chapter 31, the words of V'shamru B'nei Yisrael. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from the work and was refreshed.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
I'm going to violate the tradition that we should go straight from the Shema and its prayers, its blessings into the Tafilah, joining these two separate units. We recite Shema and its blessings only twice a day, morning and evening. The Tafilah recited at every opportunity of worship. The Shema and its blessings in its center, the Shema Yisrael from the book of Deuteronomy and paragraph from the book of Numbers, surrounded by a series of affirmations, really not prayers, not even quite blessings, about the nature of the divine, speaking of the divine force in the universe for creation and light, the divine force in the universe for revelation, communication, Torah, our sense that there are obligations. Perhaps for some it might be reduced to a universal law of justice, but certainly a notion that there are things we ought to do, and other things we ought not to do, and a power in the universe for redemption, for bringing about that justice, which we experienced in our liberation from Egypt. In fact, whether or not we have the concept of the divine, which is an active player or being, or a concept of the divine, which is more an idea that links us all in the universe interwoven together, I don't think is that important which fine point we have, but that for Jews, for the Jewish people, morning and evening, we speak about these ideas. We add in the evening also that prayer for us to lie down and arise to life renewed. A sense that whatever God is, God infuses our spirits with this notion of creation and revelation and redemption, providence. And then we come to the prayers of the Tafilah, which in fact are prayers. They are requests for things on the weekdays. There are many of them. The central section, the Bakashot, we omit on Shabbat, but we keep the first three and the last three. We speak about the God encountered by our ancestors who made covenant. We speak about God's power over life and death, the source of life. We speak about God's uniqueness, for God is truly unlike anything that we are or experience. God is holy, which is one of the meanings of holiness, uniqueness. And the last three, hoping that our prayers will be accepted, thanksgiving, that our lives are such a gift, and finally the prayer for peace. In many ways, whatever our theology or belief system, when we come together as a community, and we're asked to do that, we're asked to represent with our smaller number the entirety of the Jewish community, what we are really saying is we are hopeful. Judaism is if we are to be described as a faith tradition, we're certainly an action tradition, but if we are a faith tradition, it is because it is a faith of hope, that whatever God is, God empowers us with a vision of what might be and what should be and what could be. And by reciting the words aloud, perhaps the universe doesn't always cooperate with us, but we are reminded of how we might impact the world around us. So with that as a little bit of an interruption I wasn't supposed to make, separating the Shema and its blessings from the Tafilah, now I will invite you to arise. For Tafilah, you'll find the words of Adonai Svatai, the Kavanah, up there, or page 46. Please, again, as you're able in body and or spirit, I'll ask you to arise.
That my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'Konei HaKol Ve'Zocher Chasdei Avod Ve'imahot U'mevii Geula Livnei B'neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
And I'll invite you, if it's your custom, to remain standing through the end of Tafilah to do so. If it's your custom to take a seat at this time, to do so as well. We are on page 55, or right up on the wall as we join together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh ha-Shabbat.
Amen.
Page 57 together. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod.
Amen.
Page 59, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shemcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. The prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, on page 60, or right up on the wall.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom, v'tov beinecha לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם.
ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. The sages of antiquity allocated to these moments our own silent prayer, meditation, reflection. Of course, they scripted a text even for that journey. You can find it on page 62, some modern contemporary settings on 63, or whatever your own heart's prompt. And I'll invite that if you'd like to have a seat at this time, certainly you can do so.
לפניך, אדוני, צורי וגואלי, עושה שלום ברמה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו
Shabbat Shalom. In this week's Torah portion, this week's episode, we read, as Israel, Jacob, right? As Israel noticed Joseph's sons, where are we? We're in Egypt. We've had a reunion. And for the first time, having thought that his son Joseph had been torn by a wild animal, he's re-met Joseph, but moreover, now he's about to meet his grandchildren. As Israel noticed Joseph's sons, he asked, "Who are these?" And Joseph said to his father, "These are my sons, whom God has given me here in Egypt." "Bring them up to me," Jacob said, "that I may bless them." And you're going to notice in the story that flip-flopping between the name Israel and Jacob. They're used interchangeably. "Bring them up to me," Jacob said, "that I may bless them." Now Israel's eyes were dim with age. He could not see. So Joseph brought them close to him, and Jacob kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, "I never expected to see you again. And here God has let me see your children as well." The Torah's narrative language invokes the human sense of sight to infer something greater at this first encounter of grandfather and grandchildren. A perception, in fact, beyond sight. Like his father Isaac, remember those stories, right? Like his father Isaac, Jacob now has dimmed eyesight. And yet he notices, he sees these boys. Joseph positions his sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, in front of their grandfather. And although the Torah states explicitly that Jacob could not see, Jacob remarks about his own ability to see. Right? Now Israel's eyes were dim with age. He could not see. And Israel said to Jacob, "God has let me see your children. I never expected to see you again, and here God has let me see your children as well." Something's going on here more than sight. This moment of unexpected, unimaginable reunion hints at the powerful experience not merely of sight, but of vision, which is something more than sight. A few weeks ago, and really a lifetime ago, we read in Parshat Vayeshev. Once Joseph, 17 years old in that Parsha, once Joseph had a dream. He told it to his brothers, but they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hear this dream which I've dreamed. There we were binding the sheaves in the field when suddenly my sheaf stood up and remained upright, and then your sheaves gathered around and bowed low to my sheaf." His brothers answered, "Do you mean to reign over us? Do you mean to rule over us?" And they hated him even more for his talk about his dreams. That was Genesis 37. This week's episode, this week's events come to prove to the reader and to the brothers that Joseph's dream prophecy was not only accurate, it was necessary, self-fulfilling almost. Joseph's brothers went to him themselves, flung themselves down before him and said, "We are prepared to be your slaves." Remember, he's hidden the gold goblet in Benjamin's backpack, hoping to see, figuring the brothers will desert Benjamin, their half-brother, by Joseph's mom, Rachel, who died giving birth to Benjamin, right? That's Joseph's mom. Figuring, okay, they'll desert, at the first sign of trouble, they'll desert Benjamin, go back up to Canaan, and Joseph can have his reunion with his brother. "We are prepared to be your slaves." The voice of Judah, who suggested that instead of killing Joseph, they should just sell him as a slave. But Joseph said to them, "Have no fear. Hatachat Elohim Anochi, am I a substitute in place of God? Besides, although you intended me harm, God intended it for good, so as to bring about this present result, this present moment, the survival of many people. And so fear not, I will sustain you and your children." And thus he, Joseph, reassured them, speaking kindly to them. Although the Torah is silent as to Joseph's internal experience, his internal dialogue, and I've yet to read any one novelization of this that explores it, so if you're listening out there and you want to do that, might be interesting. So even though the Torah is silent as to Joseph's internal experience and dialogue, we can imagine that it is a moment both wondrous and awesome, a confirmation of his dream as a 17-year-old decades earlier. Hatachat Elohim ani? How can I play God, he asks. How can I play God when I know there's a God? When I know that this is actually part of the divine plan? There are moments, these moments, both moments in time in which Jacob then Joseph are linked, as the text says, by outer sight, but also by inner vision. Jacob and then Joseph perceive with that inner vision those respective moments, past, present, future, a linkage across time, collapsed in this moment into a moment of epiphany. That moment where we encounter something divine, something greater than self. It's different from déjà vu, in which one senses in the current moment that an ongoing immediate event or experience has happened previously. Most of us have experienced déjà vu. Closer would be the French time presque vu, which means almost seen, in the sense of envisioned. Not seen, almost seen. The sensation of standing at the very edge of epiphany. We sense in that moment that events, past, present, even future, align meaningfully, even a sense of intentionally, a glimpse of our mundane earthly experience as part, perhaps, of a greater plan. We're part of something more than ourselves in such a moment, or at least as being beyond our full comprehension. Something more is going on here. In philosophical terms, at such moments, we are experiencing both the distance and simultaneously the aching proximity of phenomenon and noumenon. Such moments can occur both randomly and even on fixed occasions. Abraham Maslow described that it is possible to seek to bring about such moments of experience via serious meditative practice, focused exposure to great art or music, by receptivity to the beauty of natural phenomena, and perhaps most importantly, as we find in this parsha, by acknowledging and permitting ourselves to experience the overwhelming intensity of human connection, human love, our connection to others, especially family or loved ones. This is the experience of both Jacob and Joseph in this week's parsha, this last parsha of the book of Genesis that concludes the story of Joseph and his brothers. I never expected to see you again, says Jacob to his son. And here God has let me see your children as well. And then Joseph's words to his brothers. Yes, you intended it for harm, but God intended it for good. God here, in these narrative texts, is a refocusing of time and intention. Inner vision overlaid upon previous outer sight. We see even in the moments of our physical blindness through this inner vision that our own tiny but meaningful part in infinity and in eternity. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may we be gifted with such vision. Shabbat Shalom. As always, I invite your thoughts, reactions, responses. Please send me an email. Wait till after Shabbat, otherwise it gets under all those piles of all that ridiculous stuff that gets sent all the time. We are going to offer prayers for healing, blessing, whether something minor, modest, or major. On this Shabbat, we call to mind and we pray for healing for Lori Blum, Chaya Malka Bat Chaya, Helene Furman Gold, Gloria Sancho, Jenny St. George, Chava Gittel Bat Freda, Yona Chaya Bat Miriam, Ruth Bat Binyamin Vachava, Steve Brown-Inns, Yona Tevya Ben Label V'Gitahenya, Renee Fishzone, Moshe Ben Leah, Nancy Lazar, Delroy Aline, Max Estroff, Richard Salter, Chaika Bat Freda, Chaim, Kim Petchek, Peggy Einhorn, Bruce Shapiro Nygren, Eleanor Shapiro Nygren, Bela Rivka, Bachmol Pesach Esther, Susan Sonkin, David Stephen Cohen, Peter Hort, Donald Pearlstein, Ken Coleman Cohn, Christy Frank, Sally Cerbello, and Nick Boyer. If there are other names of those who were praying for healing and or blessing, I invite you to share those names as my hand comes around the congregation. And those on the live stream, I encourage you to say names aloud as well. You can find the text of Debbie Friedman's setting of the Mishaberach on page 253 or right up on the wall.
Mekol habracha le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Mi shebeirach imo וכל הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Our prayers turn to prayers for our nation and for the state of Israel, pages 258 and 259. Join together. O Guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country sound in body and spirit. Amen. Words of Avinu Shebashamayim in the Hebrew, in the English, page 259. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love and spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Grant them deliverance and adorn them in a mantle of victory. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen. We're going to turn to our concluding prayers, page 283, or right up on the wall. The Aleinu, as I invite you again, as you're able in body and or spirit, to rise, page 283.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגר עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים
ומשתחווים
עומדים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובה מרומים. ואלינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, בתורתו וידעת היום והשבת אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn to those who are gathered with us through the blessing of memory. We call to mind these recent passings in the Shloshim in the month, the passing of Elizabeth Dintz, the mother of David Dintz. We'll have more information regarding, I know that funeral and shiva will likely be private through Westchester Reformed Temple up in Scarsdale, but a note of condolence is always appropriate to David and Lisa. Also call to mind the recent passing of Leo Leibowitz, the grandfather of Alicia Zimmerman. And we extend our heartfelt grief and sympathy, Steve, to you and Elisa, and to Ariel and Bella on the passing of Gabriel, the untimely passing of Gabriel. May his memory be for blessing and inspiration. We also call to mind Joseph Bayo, the uncle of our director of religious school, Katie Ryan, the passing of Maria Luisa Lugo Rigau, friend Robin Slade, Eddie, Jesse, and family, Eddie Gabay and family, the passing of our member, William Bill Gutman, father of Henry, of Hank Gutman, as well as the passing in previous weeks of Ruth Gutman, Hank's sister, and finally the passing of Jerome Smith, the uncle of Amy Leesman. We also call to mind those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, falls at this season. Yitzhak Buxbaum, our member, and Magid, Jewish storyteller, is ordained by Shlomo Karlebach, who passed a year ago. This is Yitzhak's first yahrzeit. We extend condolence to Carol. The passing of Belle Tansky Arkow, recalled by Randy Jaffe. The passing of Edward Fishbein, recalled by Matthew Fishbein. Passing of Ezekiel Joseph Jacob. Ezekiel Jacob, one of our founding members, called by our community. Passing of Dave Balick, recalled by Judith Freed. Passing at this season again, yahrzeit for Lydia Leon, called by Jenny Powers. Pearl Kadowitz, recalled by Miriam Kadowitz. Minnie Stern, recalled by our community. Louis Wittes, recalled by our community. Rose Ginsburg, recalled by the community. The passing of Linda Wolf, recalled by John Romano and the entire Brooklyn Heights Synagogue community. Passing of Harvey Brown, recalled by Ross Brown this season. And again, the passing of Linda Wolf at this season, also recalled by her daughter, Alyssa Goldstone. Manning Robbins, recalled by Jeremy Robbins. Sarah Robbins, recalled by Lisa Dintz. Celia Evanson, am I pronouncing that? Evanson, recalled by Stewart and family. Extend condolence on this yahrzeit. Sophie Golub Stendig, recalled by the community. Alfred Fischler, recalled by the community. Waltus Rhodes, recalled by Marge Goldberg. George Ratner, recalled by Donald Ratner. Passing at this season the yahrzeit of David Smith, recalled by Lisa Smith Dintz. Beba Wishnia, recalled by Michelle Citron. Frank Macchiarola, our former president of St. Francis and a friend to many of us, and the school chancellor for some of us when we were in public school, also at this season by our community. Dorothy Haas, recalled by Terry Haas. Daniel Kahn, recalled by Fran Gottfried. Milton Mandelbaum, recalled by Ken Mandelbaum. And finally, the yahrzeit of Audrey Menken, recalled by Faith Menken and my family. If I have inadvertently mispronounced any of these names or have failed to share aloud the name of a loved one who you are reciting Kaddish for, either in recent days or yahrzeit at this season in years past, I want to invite you to share those names aloud. Also for those on the live stream, if you wish to share names aloud, as my hand comes across the congregation. Zecher Tzadich Livracha. May their memories be for our blessing. We sanctify them, their names, their memories, even as we sanctify God's name. And we pray for the coming of God's realm. The words of Kaddish Yatom, page 294, or on the tiny text projected up on the wall there. We join together. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. B'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agala u'vizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'l'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei Kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. damiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace on high cause peace to descend upon us, all Israel, our entire world, and let us all say, Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Ve'meru.
Amen.
Amen. Please be seated, everyone. It is my pleasure to call on the president of our congregation, Marcia Bellows, to share announcements with us on this Shabbat Eve.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Happy New Year. Thank you, Rabbi Cantor Ayelet and Miriam, and it's so great to see Cantor out of the box. We have a few announcements. Oh, and I want to recognize our brand new membership director, Alana Elon. Thank you, Alana, for keeping us going tonight, and welcome to BHS. There's a few announcements. Havara is tomorrow morning, 9:30, with Rabbi Lip. If anybody is interested in becoming a BHS trustee, please email Karen Gordon, our immediate past president, who is trying to round up some people. The construction process is going well. I hope you notice that the scaffolding is gone. They were packing it up today, which is very exciting. The other Friday night for young adults is, the next time is January 21st. So if you're interested in that, that's the day. Also, the BHS preschool is offering a booster clinic. Is that for everyone?
It's open to the entire congregation.
It's open to the entire congregation. So
I think you have to sign up, but if you need a booster, I think it's that Friday, January, what is it?
January 7th.
Yep.
If you need a booster, you can sign up with the preschool, which is great.
That also applies for 16 and 17-year-olds, by the way. So now that the booster is approved for that age group.
Okay, lifelong learning. Karen Gordon, Karen Brody is here. She's one of the leaders of the seminar, The Exodus Story as a Living Document. They are resuming classes starting Sunday, December 19th from 9 a.m. to 10:15. Healy Slackman will join Karen to lead the session. Also, the men's group at BHS is next meeting is Sunday, December 19th at 10:30. It's led by Jeff Gold, and you can contact him if you're interested. And finally, there is a coat and hair products drive that will go to help Afghan children and women at Fort Dix. These are Afghan refugees. Children's coats can be turned in December 22nd, I guess, along with hair products. And that is all for tonight. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Yes, Karen Brody, I see your hand.
I have to make a wonderful announcement.
Okay.
First of all, apologize for being called out, but my entire family is going crazy because our Allie, our girl, has just accepted early decision to the school of her choice, Newhouse College on Syracuse.
Mazel tov. Mazel tov, Karen. That's wonderful news, and thank you for sharing with us. It's always good to have hakarat hatov, the recognition of good things that's going on in the world, because God knows there's enough other stuff. Just a reminder, as I said earlier, for starting next Friday, we are in the midst of a construction splurge, I don't know, intensive, and so we will be totally Zoom, no gathering in the building, so the 24th through the 31st, we're going to be on Zoom for the next, many things are still on Zoom, including most of Adult Ed that you heard, but the Friday night worship will be exclusively on Zoom for the next 2 weeks. With that said, our closing song, I believe, is Adon Olam, which you can find on page 321 or right up on the wall.
Adon Olam asher malach v'terem kol yitzir nivra leitasam v'chelso kol zayvel Shemo nikra לבדו ילך נורא והוא היה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ושני לחם שלו להכפירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה אדון עולם אשר מחלה בטרם כל יציר נפרע תסם וחצו כל הזמל לשמו נקרא והוא אלי וחגני וצחם לי בעצרה והוא ניסי מננוס לי מנקסי ביום אקרא בידו הפקיד רוחי והייתי הישן ועירה ואם רוחי יביעתי אדוני לי ולא יירא אדון עולם אשר מחלה וטרם כל יציר נברא לית נסם וחפצו כל הזמל לשמו נקרא
You'll find the words for Kiddush, pages 4 and 5 in the Siddur in Mishkan Tafilah, or right up on the wall.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מקום מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מקום מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי,
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו, בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית. כי הוא יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל עמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן.
לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen. I can't quite tell how fresh it is. Charlotte,
Freshly defrozen.
it's yours. If you met someone new tonight, please reintroduce yourself. I wish everyone Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Cantor, Miriam. Yeah, sure. Well, I'm glad. I'm very happy.
Texted me, and so finally the phone rang, and it was my sister calling from Turks and Caicos, saying congratulations.
Okay. Let's get ourselves out of here. Okay. Please send my regards and my well wishes. See you tomorrow morning.